Happy Friday, guys. Hope you're having a good week. It's been an interesting week for me getting back into interviewing for the first time in a few months, probably about 6 months. I think the last interview I did was late last year. I interviewed Berkeley Bryan and Christina Williamson, both from Miss Volunteer America. And because I'm going, if you don't know, I'm heading to Miss Volunteer America because I've sort of fallen in love with the system which is going to be held in Tennessee in June, which is next month, almost a month to the day I'm recording this. And so I'm going to be heading over there. And what I thought would be cool is if I got to interview a few of the MVA title holders, state title holders before I got there. So when I go over there, I know some people and I've struck up some friendships, made some relationships. So I've been doing that. Interviewed Bailey Joy Martin, who is Miss Ohio volunteer. Need to make sure I get this right because I'm not very familiar with all the different states in America. And then this morning I interviewed Lydia Fisher, who is Miss Michigan volunteer. So that's been going well. It's been good to get back into it. But look, you are here. I'm going to talk to you today. I want to show you today how you can use ChatGPT to help you prep for interview. Now, I know a lot of you, because I've only just changed our website over, debuted our new website, so to speak, and we're now on Substack, which makes it much easier for me to get this information to you and not have to deal with algorithms and social media noise and the content creation burnout. So I know a lot of you here are new, and I know a lot of you have issues or challenges, I should say, with interview. And even if you're someone like me who's done hundreds of interviews, there's always something you can be working on and improving on. And, for me, as I was actually talking with Lydia this morning during the interview, for me, the challenge is not so much speaking. The challenge is stopping. Is like, trying to take a big thought, a very interlinked and complex thought and try to condense it into a convenient Pageant answer that's 30 seconds long. That's my struggle. And you might have that struggle. Some of you might have the opposite struggle, which is just you're afraid to speak and maybe you're afraid of saying, or you really want to say the right thing, even though there isn't any such thing as the right thing or the perfect thing. And so you struggle to speak. I kind of have the opposite issues. So I know that for a lot of you, interview is a potential stumbling block. And I also know that when you improve on it or you master it, I mean, you won't be perfect, but let's say you master it to a high level, it can also be the area that affords you the most growth. Now, I know this because I was discussing just with one of the Miss Earth national title holders just this week. And I said to her, it's like, I don't buy into this whole idea that gets floated around that if you're confident on stage in a bikini, that's going to translate into confidence wherever you go. I'm sorry, I don't buy that. Like, if you're confident on stage in a bikini, more power to you. But then if you have to give a speech at the UN or a TED Talk or presentation to the board of your business or your nonprofit, and you actually have to speak, not walk, you may still struggle if it's an area that you don't have expertise in. Whereas interview or public speaking, which are slightly different to be sure, but the whole, let's call it communication, communicating to the public, communicating your message to someone else, that is definitely something that is going to have legs no matter what business you're in. And even if you're not in a business, and by the way, I'm not just saying, you own your own business, maybe you're on a 9 to 5, you need to be able to communicate with your co-workers and your boss. But even if you aren't working, and let's say you're a stay-at-home mum or stay-at-home dad, how important is it to be able to communicate with your kids or with your significant other? So communication skills, I think, are maybe some of the most valuable skills you can take away from your time in pageantry outside of the network, the people you meet. I get that being able to walk on stage in heels and your passerella is cool for a lot of people, but I think unless you are actually going to be a professional model, I think it's of limited use. Now, I should preface this by saying what I'm about to show you probably will cost me a lot of money. Because previous to ChatGPT, and specifically not just ChatGPT, I'm going to show you how to use the advanced voice functionality. I'm not going to get you to type anything. I'm going to get you to talk to it like you would talk to an interview coach, or like you would actually talk to the judges on an interview panel. But prior to having this sort of tool available in your pocket wherever you go, you would have to pay someone, such as myself, or an interview coach, probably hundreds of dollars for a session to practice your interview, unless you had the great fortune of having someone that you could practice with. And then if you did, there's no guarantee they know anything about interview. So whether they can give you constructive feedback or not is up for debate. And I've said many, many times, practicing in front of the mirror or practicing in your head, it's better than nothing. But that's about the best you can say about it. It is completely, it's about, I played a lot of tennis. And if you listened to me before, you probably know that. But it would be like me trying to prepare for a tennis tournament like Wimbledon or the US Open by thinking about tennis. It's better than nothing. Visualization is certainly powerful, but I do need to actually do it. And here's the thing, as a former tennis coach, the closer you can make your practice to the real thing, the better. And specifically by that, I mean the pressures and the stresses. So for example, tennis, one of the big issues is that everyone looks great in practice when there's no one watching. But when you add an audience, a TV crowd, you add the weight of expectation, and there's someone on the other side who's really just, their goal on the other side of a tennis net anyway is to make you miserable, is to beat you. There's no draw in tennis, it's win or lose. And when you have that pressure, funny things can happen. And I think the idea of your practice should be to incorporate that. It's not a good idea to ignore that and to make your practice as easy as possible. In tennis, like in many other sports, even in normal life, we have a term choke. And when they say, choke, when you choke a match, it's not a good thing. It means you really should have won, but because you let the nerves get in the way, you lost a match. You should have won, or at least you could have performed a lot better. Maybe you wouldn't have won, but you knew you didn't perform at your best. And that can be a real issue with interview, is your nerves. You know how to answer a question, but can you handle your nerves? So I have a lot of experience working with pageant contestants and title holders on the whole mindset of things and getting them sort of unstuck and untangled here, because unless you really have the mindset aligned, then rather than getting pulled forward, you can just be pulled apart. You'll have a bit of thing here, a bit of thing there, and then you'll set an interview and you'll be overwhelmed. So I do a lot of work on the mindset. And if you want to do that, you're welcome to send me a message, email me, and we can get to work on that. But the actual interview practice, that's what we're going to be talking here today. So the actual ask me a question, and then, get something to ask me a question, then I'm going to answer it, and then I'm hopefully going to get feedback straight away. Now, what I will say, obviously I have two cameras here, well, two phones at the moment. So I've got that one there, and I've got my main one, which has the ChatGPT on, which I'll be demonstrating to you. First, just let me say how to practice. I've already said it's no good practicing in front of the mirror. What I want you to do is, as far as possible, is video or record your answers. And remember what I said about making the practice as real as possible? What I'd really like you to do is actually wear your interview outfit. Wear whatever it is you're going to wear, you plan to wear during your interview. So if it's sash and crown, I don't know if you have to do that, but wear your actual interview outfit. You're probably going to be sitting. So sit, practice sitting the way you want to sit. I know this will sound silly, but you don't want to leave anything up to chance. We want to make it as real as possible. You don't have to do this every time, right? But if you want to make it like your best practice ever, this is the ask. So wear your interview outfit, sit the way you're going to sit, and I need you to set up your camera so you might need to get two phones, I don't know. So set up a camera so it's videoing you, because aside from ChatGPT asking us a question and then we'll respond and then we'll get ChatGPT's feedback, I need you, the thing that ChatGPT can't really do is give you feedback on all the mannerisms. How did I use my hand when I'm sitting? How am I sitting? Do I look relaxed but confident? Am I slouched over? Do I have some mannerisms that I'd really rather get rid of? I remember one of the first times seeing myself on camera, and I noticed that I kept shaking my head around all the time, and I had no idea that I did that. But now that I've seen it on camera, I can't argue that it didn't happen. Obviously it has. And so I had to cut that out, but I'd never have known that if I hadn't seen myself on video first. And so if I hadn't done that, then the first people to see that would be the actual audience, or the judges in your case. So we need you to video it so you can see, not just respond and say the right thing, but a lot of communication is body language. And so you need to master that. You need to practice that as well. And generally, interviewing, you're probably going to be sitting down. You want to look relaxed, you want to look confident, and you want to have a relaxed, easygoing smile on your face. You don't want to be, oh my God, frowning, and you don't want to look like you're panicked. You want to look like you're poised, as we like to say in pageantry. And the only way you're going to know if you're doing that is by getting the evidence, so video. So you're going to set up one device, borrow your parents' device, borrow your partner's device, set up one device to video you, and try to video from head to toe. You'll be sitting down, right? So all the way from head to toe, because you want to notice all sorts of things. If you only video, from here to here, like a talking headshot, you may not see the hand movements. You may not see that you're fidgeting, or you may be shaking your leg or tapping your leg, or, kicking your foot because you've got a bit of nervous energy. You want to see all these things in the practice, not get it on the feedback form you get from your judges after the fact. So set that up, okay? Number one. Number two, you're going to take your device. Now, for this, you do need a subscription to ChatGPT. Having said that, it costs a grand total of around $20 a month. Now, you are not going to get any interview training worth its salt for $20. Okay? So, no, it's not free. But $20 for a month's worth of training, you put that against your makeup cost, your hair cost, God forbid, the cost of your dress. You can afford the $20 a month if you're going into pageantry in the first place. And what you're going to want to do is get the actual ChatGPT app. I was talking to a friend in the UK, and I was trying to get her to use a ChatGPT app to help diagnose her car issues. Yeah, you can get this thing to do anything. Forget the pageant interview. It's amazing what it can do. And it wasn't working right. And then I said, hang on, do you actually have the app installed? And she said, no, she was using the mobile web browser. No, get the app, okay? The app, once you start talking with it as well, the great thing is it's treated like a voice call on your phone. What I mean by that is you can put your Bluetooth, your AirPods in, whatever. You can put the lock screen on. You don't have to keep it on. And you can keep that in your car or on the treadmill, whatever. And you can keep talking to it even though the phone's on lock. So if you're driving, right, to work and you want to practice interview, you can Bluetooth it to your car and you'll be able to do that whilst you're driving. Talk about multitasking. If you're on the train, you'll be able to practice your interview answers. You'll get some funny looks from other people looking at you, wondering what you're doing when you say, yes, thanks for the question. As an astronaut or as a teacher, be like, what is that person doing? But hey, you'll make them have fun. You'll be delivering value for your fellow commuters. But on the treadmill, or you're going for a walk, you have the AirPods in, and again, you can be practicing these things when you're going out for your walk. And so you don't have to sit there and spend time doing it. You have all this spare time anyway, might as well spend it practicing your interview. That's why you need the app. You cannot do that with a mobile web browser. So you've got your subscription to ChatGPT. You've got the app. You open up the screen, it will look something like this. And what you're looking for is not the microphone button. That microphone button will listen to you, and then it will transcribe what you've said into written form. We don't want that. We want to actually speak to it like a real person, which are these, it's like vertical bars. It's that white circle there. Now, if I press that white circle, you'll see this colored circle come up, and it kind of swells and it grows and shrinks in response to my voice. This is now listening to me. So, ChatGPT, can you introduce yourself to the viewers? We're recording a video about how we can use your advanced voice functionality to practice our interview.
Of course. Hi, everyone. I'm ChatGPT, a conversational AI here to help you practice and improve your interview skills. I'm designed to listen to your responses and give you feedback, tips, and encouragement. Let's make your interview practice more interactive and effective. So, let's get started and have some fun.
He likes to talk. Okay, now, you'll be able to play around with the app. It's not difficult to understand, but just so you know, you can end the conversation at any time by pressing that X. You can mute it temporarily by hitting the microphone. This camera option actually turns the camera on, And ChatGPT actually now has vision where it can see what you're seeing and can describe it. So ChatGPT, just to make people aware of the camera that I've just switched on for you, what can this camera be used for in terms of pageant interview?
Sure thing. With the camera on, I can see what you're showing me, like your posture, facial expressions, or even your outfit. This can help you get feedback on your body language, eye contact, and overall presence, which are all important for pageant interviews. Essentially, it adds a visual layer to our practice so we can fine tune every aspect of your performance.
Okay, so you remember what I said about I want you to record it and you can't really rely on ChatGPT to do it for you. With that camera, that vision functionality, it can, within reason, as it said, look at your outfit, watch your mannerisms. It's not really great at knowing what's good for interview and what's not. So it might be able to say, hey, yes, you're wearing a yellow hood and you're smiling. That's not really enough. So I would still record and analyze that with your own eyes. But hey, if you've only got one camera, or you've only got one phone and you want to use a vision functionality, you can as well. You can turn it on selfie mode and have a chat with it. But that's the advanced voice functionality. You interact with it exactly like you would interact with a normal person. You can even, if he's talking for too long, as you see, he likes to make some really long answers, you can tell him to, hey, stop talking. You can just basically yell over the top of him and he will stop talking, which is a relatively recent feature, by the way. Before you needed to listen to his whole response. But let me show you again. So I'm going to hit that. He's woken up. So, all right, ChatGPT, let's pretend that we're practicing some interviews. We want to get ready for our pageant interview. Why don't you go ahead and ask me a question, and then I'll answer and you give me some feedback.
Sounds great. Let's dive in. Here's a question for you. What inspired you to participate in this pageant, and what do you hope to achieve through it?
All right, so let's say, for example, we're competing in the Miss Volunteer America pageant. Most likely we're going to say something about our passion for volunteering. So I could say, for example, well, I've always loved volunteering. It's been an important part of my life from very, very early age when I felt like I needed to give back. I've always been someone who wanted to contribute to my community, particularly the less fortunate. And so for me, see, I've actually forgotten the question already. I need to practice, right? But ChatGPT just analyzed my answer up until the point where I forgot what I was talking about.
Absolutely. Your answer started off strong. You highlighted your passion for volunteering and your long-standing commitment to giving back to the community. That's a great foundation. To strengthen your response, try to connect your volunteer work to specific goals you want to achieve in the pageant, like raising awareness for a cause or inspiring others. Also, practicing a concise structure, like stating your inspiration, then your goals, can help you stay on track.
Okay, so I hope you're seeing how powerful this could be. If this doesn't blow you away, I don't know what will. Because this essentially has already just saved you hundreds, if not thousands of dollars on interview practice. It's giving you feedback. The feedback it gives you on your verbal answers is much more on point than the vision one with, analyzing your body language. So the feedback generally that I get from this is on point and useful. And I really hope you get used to using AI because the more comfortable you get with it, the better a result you're going to get. It's like any other tool. People tend to look at AI and they're either completely pro or they're completely con. The people who are con or against AI, they go and use ChatGPT once, they put in some like a really bad prompt and they get a bad result and they say, see, AI doesn't work. Well, it's like, well, no, it works. Just like, what did you actually ask it? Like, it works, you don't, sort of thing. Because people can do absolutely amazing things with AI now. So, what you need to get good at is interacting with it and asking it for what you want with a bit more specificity. Okay, and you can talk to it like a person. And that's what I like about the advanced voice functionality. You don't need to come up with a 5,000 word prompt before you can start interacting with it. So, for example, let me show you a few things. All right, so ChatGPT, I love your feedback. Can you give me some tips on how I can keep my answers short?
Definitely. One helpful tip is to structure your answers using the STAR method: situation, task, action, result. Even for open-ended questions, this keeps you focused.
Okay, stop.
Also, Got it. Keeping
Okay,
your
stop.
answers concise and
Stop,
structured.
stop talking. Okay, so as you can see, sometimes it keeps going. So you can ask it for advice. That's definitely one thing you can do. So you can be there in your car on the treadmill, you're practicing, and it says, well, it would be good if you practiced making your answers more concise or giving relevant examples. And then you might think, okay, give me some tips on how I can do that, and it will do that. Okay, so now let's say that you've gotten the tips, and let's say you, like me, have issues making your answers as short as possible. So we don't just want to practice generic interview question and answer anymore, do we? We want to practice concatenating our answers, condensing our answers. So watch this. All right, ChatGPT, I am very comfortable talking in public speaking and interviewing, but I really need practice at making my answers shorter and more condensed for the pageant interview. So can you come up with an exercise that just helps me practice that one facet?
Absolutely. Let's try a rapid fire exercise. I'll ask you a question and you aim to answer it in just 2 or 3 sentences. The goal is to deliver a clear, impactful response without extra details. Want to give it a shot?
Yes, let's give it a go.
Great. Here we go. First question. What's one quality that sets you apart from other contestants and why?
My work ethic and my ADHD, because it means my brain never switches off and I see things strategically in a way that other people do not.
Excellent answer. You highlighted a unique quality and connected it to a strength. Just keep it crisp and confident like that. Awesome job.
Let's keep going. Ask me another one.
Sure thing. Next question. How do you handle stress or pressure during a competition?
For me, it's about eating right and making sure I get some form of exercise in. Every day I need to break a sweat. Doesn't really matter how it's done, but I find that really helps center me and reset my nerves.
Fantastic. That response is concise and clearly communicates your strategy for managing stress.
Okay, so I've just turned them off now. So can you see? I hope you're seeing the power of this. If you've watched to this point, you are someone who sees that. And now I want you to go use this as frankly, your unfair advantage. There are going to be a lot of people, maybe even the majority of people still to this day, who think that that's not valuable. Oh, AI can't really help you practice. It'll give you an answer and then you're just going to say the answer, or it's going to do the work for you and that's unfair. Forget them. Okay. And I say that with all respect for them as human beings, but we are on the precipice of something huge if you don't know already. AI is it's already revolutionized. I can say this from first-hand experience. In my business, I developed, one of the very first things I developed was an AI app that helped diagnose patients. And in our first attempt, after a couple of weeks of tweaking around with it, we were already out diagnosing family doctors who had decades worth of experience. And, if it can do that, if it can save a life, it can definitely help you get better at your interview answers. So you, again, talk to it. If you are not getting the result you want from AI, it's because you're not asking it the right question. You're not being imaginative enough. Push it to see what it can do. You've already seen, yes, I can just practice question and answer with it. I've already told you can Bluetooth it to your headphones or your car, so you can do that when you're on the move. You don't need to sit down and do it. You've seen, I can get it to give me feedback. Then I can get it to give me tailored exercises on that feedback. In my case, it was making the answers shorter. And then when I practice that 10 times, 20 times, 30 times, then I can say, okay, I'm feeling more comfortable with that. Let's go back to the former questions and we'll go back to Q&A. And then, by the way, when I start feeling comfortable with that, I can say, hey, I'm feeling pretty good about this question and answer. Start giving me really difficult ones. Or maybe you're saying, you know what? You're never supposed to be asked a political question in a pageant, but I want to be prepared for the worst case scenario. So, hey, give me some political questions. I'm going to practice answering them in a fairly neutral way that would be acceptable on the pageant stage. Now, all this to say, that's just pageant interview. Use it. Use that advanced voice functionality again. Again, it's $20 a month, worth it. I think you can agree, given that private session with me, I thought it was going to cost me money, $200 an hour, right? So get that. I would actually put you with, go practice. If you need advice from me, sure, but then you need to actually implement that advice. You don't need me to sit there whilst you're practicing for 24 hours, okay? You don't. So get the ChatGPT subscription, get the app, Please do not try and use it on the mobile browser on your phone. You can use this, by the way, on your computer as well, on your laptop or desktop. But you may not have access to that when you're on the go. But everyone has access to their phone pretty much all the time. The other thing, as a pageant contestant, you can use this to give you advice in anything. I want you to treat this as your best friend, who's also the smartest person on the planet. So I just had a question from a director actually about sponsorship. She's struggling to raise money for her state pageant. She could get this. And so, well, let me demonstrate for you, right? So watch this. So ChatGPT, I just got messaged by a state pageant director who's really struggling to raise sponsorship for her pageant in America. Could you give her some really basic tips to help her raise sponsorship, cash sponsorship in particular?
Of course. One basic tip is to clearly outline the benefits sponsors will receive, like brand exposure and community goodwill. Another is to create sponsorship packages at different levels, offering various perks to fit different budgets. Also, leveraging personal connections and local businesses who align with the pageant's values can be really effective.
Okay, so let's say, for example, she's struggling to. I feel that she should approach businesses who are already aligned with the with the idea of pageantry and women's empowerment. So, what sort of businesses, what sort of niches do you think it would be a very easy sell to get sponsorship from, given that it's all about women's empowerment, philanthropy, and volunteering?
That's a great approach. Businesses that align well with women's empowerment and philanthropy include beauty and wellness brands, fitness centers, women-owned businesses, local boutiques, and healthcare providers.
So again, can you see the level of advice it can give you? It can give you like very high level advice on any question you have. So if you're struggling with confidence on stage, if you're struggling with getting sponsorship, by the way, I know we're only using voice functionality here, but you can take your pageant paperwork, feed it into the message, attach it to ChatGPT and say, hey, proofread this, right? Or you can take sort of a bullet point list of your achievement and your bio and also give it the paperwork that you need to fill out and say, hey, take my bio and draft me some answers for the competition, the entrance paperwork that I need to fill out. By the way, I'm not saying that you shouldn't check this, okay? But it would be ignorant of me to say that this is not a good idea because it will save you time. I'm not the sort of person who will say, go and use this to do your essays at school. No. But in terms of filling out paperwork for yourself, if it's going to make something take half the amount of time and it's going to free up your mind to practice look, here's the thing. No one's picking a pageant title holder based on who does the best paperwork, right? So I know it's a necessary thing that needs to be done. If something like a ChatGPT can help you do it in half the time with half the effort, I'm all for that. Having said that, you still need to check it, right? There have been instances twice now where lawyers have gone into court. They need to quote case law and they use ChatGPT to come up with their briefs, and ChatGPT made up a case that doesn't exist and they got found out. Don't do that, okay? But I would be very surprised if there's something that AI in general, not just ChatGPT, but AI in general, can't help you with. Whether it's finding sponsorship, coming up with a workout plan, coming up with an eating plan, if you're struggling with your confidence, your mindset, whatever it is. And for your own sake, for your career moving forwards, I think it's going to be really important that you get comfortable using AI. And what really worries me is that there are still so many people sitting on the fence about it and saying, yeah, I'm not really sure about it yet. I think it will affect other businesses, but not me, but it'll affect other people and it won't affect me. Or they're getting into the moral and ethical arguments about, oh, but it's not fair that it takes the job of... Here's the thing. When the car was invented, people who were taking people around on horseback probably didn't like that very much. But guess what? We all drive cars now. Similar to Netflix. You remember Blockbuster? Are you even old enough to remember Blockbuster? If you don't remember Blockbuster, that was a huge multi-billion-dollar company. It went bankrupt very quickly. Why? Because they just rented out DVDs all the time. Videos. You needed to used to go to a store to get a DVD that had one movie on it. Who put them out of business? Netflix. Right? Netflix. Because now you can just stream at the tip of a button and you have hundreds and thousands of videos. And by the way, I think this is right. I think Netflix made an offer to Netflix went to Blockbuster and said, "Hey, do you want to buy us out?" And Blockbuster laughed at them. Now, where's Blockbuster? So here's my thing: you don't want to be Blockbuster when Netflix has come out. Okay, you don't want to be the horse-drawn cart when the car comes out. And so AI is here. It's going to radically transform everything. I don't care what field you're in. If you haven't used AI already, start using it for your pageant and get used to it. Become familiar with it. And then I will guarantee you will find uses for it in other areas of your life, just as I did. So I hope this helps. If you have any questions about it at all, let me know. But the biggest thing I want you to do is get that ChatGPT subscription, $20 a month, and get the app so you can use it on your phone, and then start using it to practice doing some interview practice. Work it into your daily routine. It's not going to take any extra time. It's going to save you a huge amount of money, and you'll be able to practice so much more that come time for your next pageant, your interview will be leaps and bounds ahead of where it would have been otherwise. Not saying you don't need a coach, right? As I said, coaches have the expert level knowledge and can set you on the right path, but you also need a chance to implement that advice. And that's where the AI can really come in and help you get your interview to a level that it's never been at before. So leave it there. Have an amazing weekend wherever you are, and I'll speak to you again next week.